Hi Aries, welcome to your August 2019 Astro Update. It's Verena here. And, if you're looking for love, I don't think you can find a better month than the month of August, because as the month begins, we have the sun, we have the moon, and by the way, that moon happens to have been a new moon right around that time, so the new beginnings vibe is strong. Venus and Mars are all in Leo. Leo is a sister fire sign, and it is in your fifth house. The fifth house is love. The fifth house is creativity. It's children, including conceiving children. And it is your business. So that can be something that's going on. And it's also fun. So this can be like a really fun time for you in the first portion of August. So if you have met somebody recently and you're infatuated with them, maybe you are just going out a lot with them, going to concerts, going to parties, because that's the fifth house as well, pastimes, things that people do for fun, hobbies, sporting events, and it can be sports, like competitive sports even. And with Mars in the fifth house, the competition could be going on if you're an athletic person who is engaged in some kind of sport that you do for, competition. That might be something that you're involved with, but definitely great for artists because the moon is creative, Venus is appreciative of art, and the sun is also, I would say like the moon is creative because of the intuition, and the sun is creative because of the outer ambition. And Mars gives you a sense of urgency as well as that drive to accomplish something, whether it's creative or whether you're infatuated by somebody. Mars is the physical attraction. And so it could be hot and heavy. But it's just so bright, Since Leo rules the fifth house, and Leo is ruled by the sun, it's very sunny, it's very positive. On the 11th, Jupiter turns direct in Sag, so here's more fire energy. This time it's in your ninth house. And the ninth house is the house that Jupiter rules. So Jupiter has been transiting its own house. I wonder if any Aries people since last November have found that long distance travel has, more opportunities have arisen for you to do that, because that's connected to this sector. And perhaps now that Jupiter's direct, you can get back on track with that. So maybe there were some holdups, even though I've heard that Jupiter retrograde can still be very positive because Jupiter is so positive in and of itself. I personally, being a Sagittarian and therefore having Jupiter as the ruler of Sag, have felt that there can be a slowdown of sorts, but maybe that's just because I'm a Sag. And so I'm eager for Jupiter to go direct. And I think that you will also see something like a breakthrough. And because whenever there's a retrograde, it's more of an internalized process, regardless. And so people rethink things or they redo things, and it's not necessarily that they're doing it on the physical level. It's kind of a weird thing because even like with the Mars retrograde, there may be this question about ambition. And with Jupiter, the philosophy behind something. Is this really in alignment with my values? Is this really going to make my life better, more expansive, or am I just kind of playing it safe? The ninth house and Jupiter are connected with expansion. And my feeling is that is the purpose of life. So there is this strong philosophical connection here that maybe you have resolved after the 11th. Uranus goes retrograde on the same day, and this is in your second house of earned income, Aries, in the sign of Taurus. Now, Uranus was in your sign for 7 years. Now it's finally gone. I think, I don't know if it's going to go back into Aries, though, at some point. I thought I saw something for 2020, but who knows? I'm not going to even go there. I'm just focusing on now. And that might have been, was that Chiron? I can't remember. I think Uranus is in Taurus for good. I may be thinking of the Chiron transit, who knows. But in any case, and actually Chiron is in Aries, so I don't mean to confuse you. I'm just thinking out loud here. But in any case, when Uranus was in Aries, that may have thrown a few curveballs your way for your life in general, because this would have been in your first house. And you may have felt that you were constantly putting out fires, that you were dealing with not necessarily some kind of big negative events, but changes that occurred in a very unpredictable way that you could not anticipate necessarily. And that may have, I think that may have thrown you for a loop. Maybe not as much as a Taurus person is going to feel with Uranus in their sign, because I think Aries has more of a daredevil nature, that you're not looking for a life that is very placid. You're looking for a little bit of spice and excitement and unpredictability. Too much predictability for Aries gets old fast. But that doesn't mean you want chaotic situations either. So I don't know how this played out for you, but I would say that I wouldn't be surprised if now you feel like things have settled down. So now that Uranus is in your second house, you're looking at it from the standpoint of your earnings. So this can be that there's instability with this. But again, instability sounds worse than it is. It could be like really good, you know what I mean? And so rather than this set predictable amount, you may suddenly earn a lot more money. And of course, this is going to depend upon the type of profession or job you have, because some of them have weekly paychecks and you get like what you get. But if you're in some kind of a field where, like for instance, sales, this may particularly favor people in professions where they get commissions. Maybe you're going to do really well. Or if you work as a stockbroker. Yeah, that's really one of those types of professions where it can have wild swings, And some people can't handle that type of thing. But I think that what this can show you is the possibilities that are out there. And I think a lot of you are aware of, the fact that anything can happen and looking at it from a positive way. Some people don't have that breadth of vision where they can, see potential. Some people have tunnel vision. Aries people tend to dream big, and it tends to pay off for you. So in the next 7 years, or however long this Uranus transit is going to be in the second house, whatever is the current state, whether it's hot or not so much, understand that it can turn on a dime. And, so either if things are going good, have a little money set aside. And if things are going south, know that it's very easy to right the ship and that it can go zooming in the opposite direction. And when Uranus goes retrograde, I guess it's going to be a little bit more chaotic. So it's like usually when a planet goes retrograde, it kind of calms it down a little bit. But I think Uranus retrograde goes even more haywire. And Mercury is going into Leo. I should say it's going back into Leo. That's where it was when it retrograded. And so it's coming out of its shadow almost completely. Give it a few more days, probably around the 14th or so. So on the 11th, it goes into Leo again. This is your 7th house. This is where it retrograded. And, oh, did I say 7th? That's not right. It's your 5th house. And so this is where it retrograded, and it went back into your 4th house. So there may have been something for some of you connected with, if you have your own business, I would say, and you were deciding whether to work, where to have your office. You may have considered your home. That may have been one of the things. And you may, so Mercury went to direct on July 31st. And that, in that time period, maybe at the very beginning of August, you kind of came to terms with what exactly you want to do about that situation. This can also be about children, too. Having children, dealing with the ones that you already have. So, for instance, maybe you and your partner were thinking about having additional children, but or even having your first one, but something about the home had to be looked into. Maybe, your home, you felt like it's not big enough for additional children or even an additional human being besides you and your partner. Maybe you weren't sure about having another child when you have one or more already. Who knows? And you resolve this. Possibly, at the beginning of August. And now Mercury's going into the 5th house, and you are thinking about this again. And by the way, Mercury in the 5th could be talking to a potential love partner. Maybe you're having an affair and you're still, and you're thinking about your family and what you want to do about it. So something with this, with Mercury in those 4th and 5th houses. Now it's going in that 5th, and that's going to be good to, fully resolve something. On the 15th, there's a full moon at 22 degrees of Aquarius. This is the 11th house of hopes and wishes. Full moons are the culmination of something. So something has built up or grown to the point where it is ready to give birth. This is why full moons are fertile times. And fertility can indicate that there is great potential for birthing something. And for, creativity, intuition can really bring this about. And the 11th house is the house of hopes and wishes, so it could be something that you've wanted to happen, and maybe you've worked towards it. And I'm not even talking about career matters, other things. And finally, you realize your dream. Sometimes these are endings, so the 11th house is the house of friendships and groups. Maybe there's someone or some people that you're going to just pull the plug on, and you realize that you're not going in the same direction in your life path, and it's time to, change your social circle to some degree. Or you find out something about a friend, something comes to light about them. On the 18th, Mars goes into Virgo. Interestingly, the last, how many transits? 5 transits that I mention are all in Virgo. And this for you, Aries, is your 6th house, which is health, which is work, but the service that you're providing, but also the workplace, and also the way that you organize your day, organizing in general, but the way that you organize your time and day so that it reflects upon your particular goals and, what you want to accomplish. One thing some of you may know is that because you're the first sign, yours is the archetype or prototype, the template for you're the universal chart. When we refer to each house being ruled by a sign, your sequence is the one that is the universal one, because it's the universal chart starts at Aries 2 being in the first house. So all of these, when I say Mars is in Virgo, it's automatically going to be in that 6th house. And so it corresponds with the sign. And so with Mars going into your 6th, and being in Virgo, to me, it's like a double influence. And this can be you being very, what is that word? I was going to say productive. Was that really the word I was looking for? I mean, productive could definitely be it. But there was another word I was looking for. I hope I can think of it before I'm done with all these Virgo placements, because I love that word and I just can't think of it. Industrious is actually what I was going to say. And what does industrious mean? I mean, I guess you could say somebody who's hardworking, but to me, it's somebody who is I think it is kind of like being productive in a way. And, one thing I like about Aries people is that you can really get a high off of them in terms of their energy levels. I always feel like, being around an Aries person, you get energized. And so you are naturally very go, go, go. Virgo is an earth sign, so it's more methodical. You're more like a bull in a china closet. You're just like kind of just, fire signs are kind of wild. Because they're just, you think about fire, it's uncontained. It's not, just precise, And so, and Mars is the ruler of Aries. So this is particularly important. But in Virgo, where it's very organized and restrained and a little bit anal, if I can say that, and persnickety. Virgo energy is very perfectionistic and a little bit uptight, and overly critical. But Mars in Virgo is actually quite good because Virgo, at the end of the day, is a very like work-oriented sign. And Virgo people tend to prefer doing things that they feel are constructive than just frittering away their time. So this can kind of target you in a specific direction, so you can be channeling your energy instead of just expending it wildly. Okay, so on your goals, on working hard in that 6th house. Maybe that's some kind of work goals. It can also be health related. Maybe you're working out. On the 21st, Venus goes into that 6th, and so that makes you interested in harmony in the workplace. By the way, I should have said Mars going into the 6th could be having some kind of conflict in the workplace. And so a few days later on the 21st, Venus can be harmonizing that area, and it can also be getting more money. So maybe with Mars in the 6th, you're raising a little bit of hell, and you're asking for what you think you're worth, and then you get it. Because Venus, wherever Venus goes, Venus can attract money, whatever house Venus goes into. On the 23rd, the Sun goes into the 6th house. So you become in that work mode. The Sun just kind of taking over your persona, and you're down to brass tacks, On the 29th, Mercury goes into Virgo. Mercury rules Virgo. So Mercury can even be diet related. Mercury is thinking, is the thoughts. Thoughts might be on health, maybe researching things, reading books on health, diet-related issues, contracts that are work-related. So if you have been looking for a job and, now you're, getting hired and filling out all the applications and all that stuff, it could be something along those lines. And then on the 30th, we have the new moon at 6 degrees of Virgo in that 6th house. So Virgo, Virgo, Virgo. And so new beginnings with work-related matters. So, it's possible that if you work for yourself, Aries, that this is simply you really refining your daily schedule with all these placements. That if you've come from an environment that you've been working for other people, and now this is the first time you're working for yourself, you're going to have to turn everything upside down. And maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but when you work for yourself, you have to account for your own time. And to yourself, obviously. And it's a lot different. If you work 9 to 5, it's like you're kind of, you kind of have somebody nudging you along, keeping you honest, because you have obligations in that regard. And if you don't show up on time, if you don't show up at all, then other people notice. And so it keeps you in line. When you work for yourself, you have to kind of discipline yourself. And the 6th house can be about discipline, but sometimes that discipline isn't necessarily just easy to do, because, some people are more organized than others. And some people don't, they underestimate how far down the rabbit hole you can go if you don't have anybody, telling you, when to jump and how high to jump. It seems like time is endless, when you don't have those, artificial boundaries like 9 to 5. But it's amazing how easy it is to waste time. You watch a cute dog video, and 3 hours later you're like, what did I just do? And the time can just slip away from you. So this is a really big focus at the end of the month, or we could even say the last half of the month, is organizing your life and becoming as effective, as efficient as possible. That's another word that I would associate with Virgo, is efficiency. And that doesn't sound very sexy, but it definitely has its value and its place in life, because again, it's like you can waste a lot of energy doing something that could be kind of like pared down, or somehow using less steps, or using more efficient methods, and then you do it with less effort, and all the way around, less time is wasted, and in some cases money, for resources, whatever. Some people just naturally have that kind of mindset, and some people have to really do some trial and error to get to that sweet spot. So that might be, again, especially if you're somebody who has started a business recently and you're just learning the ropes as you go along. And that's okay. I think that's kind of the best way to do it. At least that's the way I like to do it, because it's fun. The process is fun. There's that saying, it's the journey, not the destination. And it's like the fool. The fool doesn't know where he's going, but he doesn't care. It's that journey that's the most important thing, or the most exciting thing, because it's like what could happen is what is so tantalizing. And, not having an itinerary, that would be what a Virgo person would do, is just have everything planned in advance, have the day timer, the schedule all set and ready to go. An Aries person tends to be more spontaneous and more willing to approach things from a very open perspective. And so, go for it. But just understand that you are trying to make yourself more organized, and you can even turn that into kind of an adventure. So anyway, that's what I have for you, Aries. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like a natal chart interpretation, or looking at the astrological trends for this coming year, 12-month period, whatever, I have all kinds of readings, love readings, career readings. Please check me out at rainandmoonastrology.com. The link is below. Take care. Bye.